The moment I realized my life had officially gone off the rails, I was gripping the railing of the observation deck and trying desperately not to fall into the reactor pit below. Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. If you enjoy strange human adventures across the galaxy, please consider subscribing. Your support means more than you might think, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. It all started with my curiosity getting the better of me. Not a metaphorical curiosity either. Literal curiosity. And, apparently, poor judgment. I had been assigned to help Dr. Solara Venn, the station's top xenomedical specialist, test a new gravity-assisted neural scanner. The scanner was supposed to map neurological activity in multiple species at once. Ideally, it would revolutionize interspecies therapy. Practically, it required someone human-sized and extremely stubborn to serve as the test subject. Naturally, I volunteered. Solara herself was intimidating. And I mean that in a cosmic sense. She was tall, maybe 6'2", with skin the softest shade of violet I'd ever seen, patterned with faint silver striations that pulsed ever so slightly with her heartbeat. Her eyes glowed a warm amber in dim light, and her hair floated behind her like it had a mind of its own. Every time she spoke, even casually, I felt my brain short-circuit. She didn't just command attention, she absorbed it. The experiment room smelled faintly of ozone and antiseptic, mixed with that undefinable scent alien bodies sometimes had when their metabolism was running at peak efficiency. Solara was adjusting the scanner controls at the console, entirely focused. I, on the other hand, was entirely focused on how terrifyingly close I was to her as I positioned myself on the scanning platform. "Are you ready, human?" she asked, not looking up. "I think so," I stammered. "Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. Simply maintain this position," she said, tapping the scanner pads on my back. "Do not move until I give the signal. Any sudden shifts could compromise the results." The pads adhered with a soft suction, sending a faint tingle across my spine. I tried to steady my breathing. But it was impossible when you could feel every small shift of someone else's weight as they leaned closer to you. And that's when it happened. Her hands, precise and delicate, adjusted the final positioning of the neural interface. I bent slightly forward to accommodate the angle, and before I knew it, I had inadvertently taken her from behind, so to speak, not in the way you think, at least not intentionally, but the positioning, the proximity, the scanner pads pressing, created our compromising alignment. My heart stopped, my face heated, and I was painfully aware that every motion was being monitored by a very capable alien doctor whose biological reactions I had no idea how to read. Then it happened. The thing I'll never forget. Solara's body tensed. The silver striations along her arms and spine flared from a soft pulse to a bright glow. Her amber eyes widened, and she let out a sharp, unguarded intake of breath that echoed softly in the chamber. "Human," she said. Her voice was low, controlled, but there was something under it, some involuntary reaction that set my nerves on fire. "Yes," I whispered, trying not to panic. I didn't what?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, but the glow along her back intensified. I swallowed hard. I didn't mean, my words collapsed into silence. She exhaled slowly, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped by 1/2 degree. Her fingers lingered near the control panel but weren't touching it. Instead, she seemed aware. Hyper-aware. A biological reaction, she later explained, that humans would never understand fully. But at that moment, I understood one thing: I had triggered it. "Human Mason Hale," she said, her voice steadier now but still low. "You have just activated a neural kinetic bonding reflex." I froze. My mind tried to process the words. Neural kinetic, what now? "It's," she paused, eyes still locked on mine, a rare response in my species, usually only triggered during extreme proximity with a compatible partner during intense neural stimulation. Which meant that unclogging pipes or calibrating scanners had nothing to do with it. I had somehow, purely by being in the wrong position at the wrong time, activated what amounted to a biological bonding ritual. And judging by the way the glowing patterns on her skin were radiating in bright, rhythmic pulses, she wasn't going to let go anytime soon. I tried to step back. She didn't move. I tried to adjust my posture. She mirrored me. I whispered. Doctor, this is... She cut me off. Human, we are synchronized. For the next 24 hours, our nervous systems are partially linked. You may notice shared sensations, enhanced perception, and involuntary responses. I felt my stomach churn, my palms sweated, my brain refused to compute. Shared sensations, I repeated cautiously. Yes. Her voice softened, almost amused. Including this. She leaned forward slightly, the glow along her spine pulsating in time with her heartbeat. Your position behind me was optimal to initiate the bonding reflex. I blinked. Optimal. Yes, quite effective actually. I had no words, because there I was, kneeling on the scanner platform, facing the most powerful and intimidating alien woman I had ever met. And she had just informed me, calmly, that I had accidentally triggered her species' mating response. The scanner hummed quietly, oblivious to the chaos it had just created. And Solara. She turned slightly to adjust the controls, but I could see her body was still tense, still glowing, still aware, still clenching in ways I could only describe as not entirely professional. My brain short-circuited. So, doctor, I said carefully, my voice shaking. This bonding thing, it's reversible. Her amber eyes sparkled with faint amusement. Human Mason Hale, there is no simple reversal. Only time, patience, and cooperation. Cooperation, I shivered. Because that word, coming from her, felt like a challenge and maybe, just maybe, the start of an adventure I had no idea I signed up for. And deep down, despite every rational fiber in my body screaming at me to get away, I realized something terrifyingly exhilarating. For the next 24 hours. I was utterly and completely bound to her, and there was nothing I could do about it, not even move. The next few minutes, or was it hours, were a blur. Time seemed to stretch on Deck 12 in ways no human clock could measure. I was hyper-aware of everything, the soft hum of the neural scanner, the faint pulse of Solara's glowing lines, and the way my own heart refused to calm down. You need to relax, she said quietly, though her voice carried the weight of someone used to controlling far more dangerous situations than an awkward human technician accidentally pressing against her back. I'm trying, I muttered, voice cracking. It's just your, species bonding reflex. It's a lot. Her amber eyes softened slightly, and for a fraction of a second, she looked less intimidating and more human. That small glimpse nearly made me stumble on the platform. Most humans, she said, tilting her head, cannot withstand the initial synchronization without some level of nervous overreaction. Your discomfort is normal. Normal. Right. Because accidentally triggering a biological mating reflex in a towering alien doctor was apparently normal. I forced myself to focus on the scanner console in front of us. The neural readouts were flickering in complex patterns I didn't fully understand, and every now and then I could feel Solara's neural responses as faint echoes through the pads. Not painful, exactly more like an intense awareness of her thoughts, feelings and, well, reactions. Okay, I said finally, trying to sound professional. Step 1, survive. Step 2, figure out what the hell just happened. Solara exhaled a sound almost like a chuckle. Human Mason Hale, you have already survived Step 1, though barely. Step 2, we must monitor the effects of the bond. Your proximity has triggered an acute neurological reaction. It is temporary but potent. Potent. That word didn't even begin to cover it. Every subtle movement she made me painfully aware of my own body, and apparently hers too. She didn't say anything, but I could sense the tension radiating from her in waves through the neural interface. Oh, doctor, I said cautiously, leaning slightly to adjust the scanner pad on my left shoulder. This bonding reflex does it. You know, always cause physical reactions. Her glowing lines pulsed faintly in answer. Some do, some less so. In your case of it is significant. I swallowed hard. I didn't know whether to be terrified or flattered or both. Significant, I asked, voice squeaking slightly. Yes, her voice was calm, but there was a faint undertone I couldn't ignore. It appears you have a particularly compatible neurological pattern. This rarely happens with humans. I nearly choked. Compatible neurological pattern. Yes, your synaptic activity aligns with my own in ways that enhance the reflex. It is why you are experiencing more intense physical feedback than most human subjects would. I wanted to sit down, but the scanner platform wasn't exactly built for casual lounging. I stayed frozen in place, wondering if faint glowing lines across an alien's back could make a human go completely insane. The answer, clearly, was yes. Human Mason Hale. Solara said, moving slightly closer as she adjusted the scanner, "You are surprisingly resilient. Most males of your species would have panicked or collapsed by now. You are enduring." "Enduring?" I repeated, my voice cracking. "You mean my body is, responsive," she corrected softly, eyes flicking briefly to mine. "Your involuntary reactions are entirely expected." I froze. My involuntary reactions. That was terrifyingly accurate. For the next several minutes, we both worked in a tense, silent rhythm. Every movement I made triggered subtle, mirrored responses from her, which meant I had to be extra careful not to upset the balance. I kept glancing at the neural readouts, pretending that the complex waveforms explained what was happening between us. They didn't. Not even close. Then, without warning, the scanner console emitted a soft chime. "Ah," Solara said, straightening slightly. "The initial scan is complete. The bonding reflex is stabilizing." I exhaled sharply. "Stabilizing?" "Yes," she said, tilting her head. "We will now enter what your species would consider the maintenance phase. The next 24 hours will require careful observation. You must remain cautious." "Cautious how?" I asked. My throat was dry. Solara moved to the console, adjusting settings. "You must maintain a measured distance. Any sudden contact or aggressive movements may intensify the reflex." I nodded quickly. Measured distance. Got it? And that's when I realized a small but critical problem. The platform we were on was not large. Very not large. And with her leaning over the scanner and me trying not to touch her or fall into the neural pads, every minor shift in balance brought us perilously close together. And that was when it happened again. Her body tensed. Her glowing lines pulsed brighter, and she stiffened abruptly, her sharp inhale echoing softly across the scanner room. "Oh no," I muttered under my breath. "Not again." Solara straightened slowly and turned her head to meet mine. Her amber eyes were wide now, almost alarmed. "Human Mason Hale?" "Yes," I asked cautiously. You have accidentally amplified the reflex once more." I blinked. "Amplified what?" "The bonding reaction. Your position and your proximity to me has triggered an intense neural feedback loop. It is highly unusual for humans to induce such a response twice in immediate succession." I swallowed hard. "So what happens now?" Her lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "Now we observe. And Human Mason Hale, you must prepare yourself. Your species' limited understanding of alien neurology will be challenged." Challenge. That was the understatement of the century. My body felt like it was betraying me, and judging by the subtle tension in her posture, hers was too. The next several hours became a delicate dance. Every minor adjustment I made triggered a response from her, and every subtle movement of hers ricocheted back through the neural link. I was acutely aware of the rhythmic pulsing of her lines, her heartbeat, the soft intakes of breath, and the way her body seemed to tighten at inconveniently precise moments. By the time the first maintenance phase ended, I was exhausted, sweating, and painfully aware of just how uncomfortably intimate accidental alien bonding could be. Solara, however, looked calm, serene even. The glowing lines on her skin were fading to a soft pulse, her posture relaxed, and she glanced at me with a faint smirk. "You have survived the first stage," she said quietly, almost approvingly. "Most humans would have been incapacitated." Thanks," I said, wiping my brow. "I think." She tilted her head, amber eyes glimmering in the dim light. "Human Mason Hale, this is only the beginning. You will need to adapt quickly if you hope to endure the full cycle of the bonding process. And if I am honest," her voice dropped slightly, and I swear the faintest warmth spread across my chest. "You intrigue me." I froze. "Intrigue you?" "Yes," she said simply. "Your unpredictability, your reactions are unusual, and at the very least, entertaining." I felt my face heat up to alarming levels. Unpredictable, entertaining. I had just caused an alien doctor to bond with me twice, and she thought I was entertaining. I tried to hide behind a weak, human laugh. Well, I'm full of surprises. She smiled faintly, turning back to the console. Her glowing lines dimmed to a gentle rhythm. Indeed. But remember, Mason, the next stage of the bonding cycle begins soon. You will need to be ready physically, mentally, and emotionally. I gulped. Emotionally. Her amber eyes met mine once more. Yes, this is an alien process, human. Your body, your mind, and your responses are all linked to mine. Every reaction you have, every sensation will be shared. And that, right there, was when I realized the terrifying truth. The next 24 hours were going to be hellishly awkward, painfully intimate, and absolutely unavoidable. Because I had no idea how to stop an alien doctor from clenching, especially one that had decided I was suddenly part of her biology. The first stage of the bonding cycle had ended, but the next phase was already making its presence known. I could feel it before I even realized what was happening, a subtle pull, a rhythmic tug at the edges of my awareness. It was Silara. Not intentionally, of course, but her biological systems were now partially synced with mine. Every tiny movement she made caused my muscles to respond before my brain could even process it. I blinked, trying to stay calm, and failed spectacularly when she bent slightly to adjust the neural scanner console. My body tensed. Not in a normal human way. No, this was a full-blown involuntary reaction, like my nervous system had suddenly decided it was no longer just mine. She turned her amber eyes toward me and raised an eyebrow, as if she could sense the effect before I even spoke. "Human Mason Hale," she said softly, voice low enough to make my stomach churn. "Your responses are intense." "Intense," I echoed, my throat dry. "You mean I can't control it?" "No," she said, tilting her head slightly. "Control is not required at this stage. Observation is sufficient." Observation, that was terrifyingly inadequate. Because observation in this context meant being painfully aware of every subtle reaction her body produced, all while trying desperately not to panic or do something embarrassing. I swallowed hard. "Observation," I repeated, nodding. "Got it." She smiled faintly, a ghost of amusement that sent another involuntary pulse through my system. Her glowing lines flickered softly, rhythmic and teasing, almost like she was enjoying the chaos she'd never intended to create. "Good," she said. "Now, we begin the next phase. It will be more dynamic." Dynamic. My stomach dropped. She moved with deliberate precision around the scanner platform, her body close enough that my senses were overwhelmed by her presence. Every subtle shift in her posture, every micro adjustment to the console, caused another unexpected pulse in my neural feedback. My knees felt weak, my heart raced, and I was hyper-aware of every small movement in ways that were embarrassingly physical. "Doctor," I stammered. I think I'm experiencing the full neural resonance," she supplied calmly, as if reading my mind, "yet is expected and unavoidable." My eyes widened. "Unavoidable?" "Yes," she said softly, almost whispering. "Part of the process is synchronization. Your system is now partially linked to mine. Every sensation, every reaction will be reflected back and forth." I swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at me to step back, to regain control. But the scanner platform was barely large enough for me to kneel without brushing against her. And any movement I did sent tiny ripples of sensation through her and through me. "Human," she said, watching me carefully. "This phase is designed to test tolerance. You may feel overwhelmed. That is normal. Some humans panic. Others succumb to the reflex entirely." "Succumb," I repeated, voice cracking slightly. "You mean?" "Yes," she replied, amber eyes meeting mine. "Your involuntary responses may intensify. This is natural. And temporary. Temporary." That was small comfort. My hands trembled slightly as I tried to adjust the scanner pad on my shoulder, careful not to touch her directly. But the device required me to lean forward, and leaning forward meant my body pressed just slightly against hers. Not intentionally, of course, but the alignment was perfect. Too perfect. Her body tensed sharply, and her glowing lines flared bright violet for a moment. My brain short-circuited. "Doctor," I whispered. "Yes." Her voice was calm, but there was a faint undercurrent of interest. Curiosity, something that made my entire system buzz in response. You're I choked, You're reacting. Yes, she said softly, tilting her head. Your position, your proximity, it is effective. Highly effective. Effective. My face went hot. My stomach did flips I didn't think a human stomach could perform. Effective at what exactly? I didn't want to know. The neural scanner hummed quietly, oblivious to the chaos. Solara adjusted it, her movements precise and graceful, every small shift echoing through the bonding reflex. I was acutely aware of every micro-tremor, every pulse of energy radiating from her. Then she spoke again, voice low and deliberate. Mazen, you must maintain focus. Control is partially possible, but awareness is absolute. I nodded, trying to look composed. Focus, control. Awareness, got it? Her amber eyes flickered, and the faintest smirk touched her lips. Good. Your reactions are entertaining. Entertaining. That word did nothing to calm me. If anything, it made my involuntary reactions worse. Every tiny tremor of her body sent feedback through the neural interface, and I had to resist the urge to, well, I didn't even know what to do. Human Mason Hale? She said softly. You are surprisingly compatible. Compatible. That word hung in the air, thick with implication. Compatible. I stammered, unsure if I should be proud or terrified. Yes. Her glowing lines flickered again, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. Your neurological patterns, your synaptic responses, they resonate with mine. That is why the reflex is so strong, and why your reactions are so pronounced. I swallowed hard. So all of this, it's normal. Within context, she said, leaning slightly to adjust the scanner. Exceedingly rare, but normal. Rarity did not make it less terrifying. We continued the procedure in tense silence. Every small adjustment, every micro movement intensified the bonding reflex. I could feel it deep in my muscles, my nerves, my chest. Solara, for her part, seemed controlled, calm, but I could sense the subtle flares in her glowing lines. Subtle, but enough to remind me that I was affecting her physically, neurologically, involuntarily. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no meaning under the intense neural synchronization. I was hyper-aware of her proximity, her glowing patterns, her subtle shifts, and the faint rhythm of her heartbeat. Every pulse echoed through my nervous system, amplifying the accidental, awkward, and completely uncontrollable connection. By the end of this phase, my body felt completely foreign. My thoughts raced, my muscles tensed unpredictably, and my brain kept reminding me that this was an alien bonding reflex, not a normal human experience. Solara observed me carefully, amber eyes flicking from my face to the neural readouts, then back. She exhaled softly, and for the first time since the experiment began, her glowing lines dimmed to a calm, steady pulse. You have endured the second stage, she said quietly, almost approvingly. Most humans would have been incapacitated. You are resilient. I swallowed hard, trying not to faint on the scanner platform. Thanks, I said weakly. I think. Her gaze lingered on me, and the faintest, almost imperceptible smile crossed her lips. This is only the beginning, Mason. The next stage will be more intimate. And more challenging, I shivered, because I realized with a sinking certainty that I was utterly at her mercy. And judging by the way her glowing lines flickered softly, she was already aware of just how effective she had been at keeping me completely, and embarrassingly, entangled in this alien bonding reflex. And the worst part, I didn't want it to end. By the time the final stage of the bonding cycle arrived, I was convinced my life had become some kind of cosmic joke. My hands trembled, my mind raced, and every nerve ending in my body seemed to hum with Solara's presence. And judging by the steady, warm glow of her lines, she was fully aware of every single reaction. You're trembling, she said softly, her voice calm but slightly amused. Human Mason Hale, this is expected. The third stage tests endurance, both physical and mental. I swallowed hard. Endurance, got it. Bring it on. She tilted her head slightly, amber eyes glinting. I assure you, endurance is a polite term. The process will be intimate and unpredictable. Intimate? Unpredictable. Both words made me freeze. My brain was already firing off all sorts of warnings. Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, but the scanner platform was too small for escape. And besides, somewhere deep down, a tiny, reckless part of me was curious. Solara moved closer, adjusting the scanner pads once again. Every subtle shift of her body sent ripples through my nervous system. My muscles tensed, my chest fluttered, and I became painfully aware of everything. Every movement, every micro-expression, every involuntary reaction I had triggered was mirrored back through the neural link. "Do you feel that?" she asked softly, leaning forward slightly. Her glowing lines pulsed brighter, a slow, deliberate rhythm that made my pulse spike. "Yes," I admitted quietly, my voice barely audible. I feel everything." "Good," she said, voice dropping slightly, almost a whisper. "That is the point. Sensory synchronization is essential for the bonding to succeed. You must embrace it. Embrace it." My stomach churned. My mind raced, and yet I couldn't help but notice how calm, confident, and almost playful she looked. I swallowed hard. "I'll try." She smiled faintly, a teasing glint in her amber eyes. "You will, and human Mason Hale, you will find the experience enlightening." Enlightening. That sounded horrifyingly accurate. The scanner hummed quietly, and I felt the pulse of energy travel from her body into mine. My muscles responded before I could think, my nerves fired in patterns I had never felt, and my heartbeat synced, however faintly, with hers. I tried to move, to adjust my posture, but every action caused her body to react in perfect coordination with mine. It was overwhelming. And then she spoke, voice low and soft. "You are surprisingly responsive. Most humans would have collapsed by now, yet you endure. That impresses me." I choked back a laugh. "Impresses you?" "Yes," she said, stepping slightly closer. "Your reactions are intense and completely aligned with the reflex. You are compatible, Mason. More than I anticipated. Compatible." That word hung in the air, thick with implication. I stammered. "Compatible?" "Yes," she said simply. "It is why your nervous system mirrors mine. And why, well." Her amber eyes flickered, and the faintest blush of her glowing lines swept across her skin. "Why the reflex has been amplified." Amplified. My stomach flipped. My brain short-circuited. And yet somehow, despite all the chaos, my pulse began to steady. A tiny, reckless part of me realized I wasn't terrified. I was curious, intrigued, maybe even a little excited. You're teasing me," I whispered, voice shaking slightly. "Perhaps," she replied softly, stepping even closer. The glowing lines along her spine and arms flared subtly. "Perhaps I am observing and testing your responses. Your ability to remain composed under pressure." Composed. That word made me laugh nervously. "Composed? Yeah, right." She chuckled, a faint, melodic sound that sent another ripple through the neural link. "Human Mason Hale, you have endured all 3 stages. Most of your species would have collapsed or fled by now. Yet you persist." I swallowed hard. "Persisting? Yeah. Barely." Her amber eyes softened. "This is the final phase. Once the bonding cycle completes, your systems will partially desynchronize, though the neural connection remains. You will retain heightened awareness of each other. And human Mason Hale." I swallowed again. "Yes, I find your reactions intriguing. And perhaps," her glowing lines flickered faintly, "your presence enjoyable." I blinked. "Enjoyable?" "Yes," she said, taking a small, deliberate step closer. "Despite the chaos, despite the reflex, I find it pleasant." Pleasant. That word sent a shiver through me. My pulse raced, and I felt every fiber of my body respond to hers. My nerves, my muscles, my very awareness were tied to hers in ways I had never imagined, and yet it wasn't terrifying anymore. Not entirely. "Pleasant," I repeated, voice shaking. You mean, She smiled faintly, eyes glinting. "I mean exactly what I said. This bond, it is rare. And, human Mason Hale, you have survived it with remarkable composure. That is admirable." I laughed nervously, a high, shaky sound. "Admirable, huh? That's one way to put it." Her smile widened slightly, and the pulsing of her lines slowed to a gentle rhythm. "Now," she said softly, voice low and deliberate, "the bonding cycle is complete. You may resume normal posture and normal distance." I exhaled sharply, relief flooding through me. My muscles loosened slightly, my heartbeat began to steady, and the overwhelming neural feedback faded to a manageable hum. For the first time since the experiment began, I could think clearly, and I realized I wasn't entirely disappointed, because despite the embarrassment, the confusion, and the completely uncontrollable reactions I had survived. And more than that, I had survived alongside Solara. She stepped back gracefully, amber eyes still glinting with curiosity and faint amusement. Human Mason Hale, this has been enlightening, and perhaps mutually enjoyable. I blinked. Mutually enjoyable. Yes, she said softly, glowing lines dimming to a calm, steady pulse. You have proven capable and intriguing. This is rare, I laughed weakly, shaking my head. Rare, yeah? That's one way to put it. Survived alien bonding reflex, check. She smiled faintly, the corners of her lips curling just slightly. Indeed. And human, I suspect this is only the beginning of our interactions. Interactions. That word hung in the air, full of implication. But somehow it didn't terrify me. Not anymore. Because in the middle of that chaos, that intense, bewildering, completely alien bonding process, I realized something important. I didn't just survive. I was looking forward to whatever came next. And Solara, she was smiling softly, knowingly, and that gentle glow along her skin seemed to say exactly what words couldn't. This accidental bonding was the start of something neither of us had expected, but both of us might secretly enjoy. I exhaled, leaned back, and allowed myself the tiniest, most human smile. All right, I whispered almost to myself. I guess we're bonded. She tilted her head, amber eyes glimmering faintly, and the faintest smirk appeared on her lips. Indeed, human Mason Hale. And the bond may prove entertaining. I laughed quietly, heart still racing, and for the first time that day, I realized something strange, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. I didn't mind being clutched by an alien doctor, not at all. Because sometimes the universe has a sense of humor, and sometimes its humor is completely, awkwardly, and irresistibly bonded.